It's Terry Sweeney with the Dark Reading News Desk. I'm joined today by Jason Mical, Cybersecurity Evangelist for Devo Technology. We're also joined by Kevin Golas, Director of Security Services for OpenText, which is a Devo customer. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
So many challenges in the SOC and for CISOs in general. Jason, you've been in the trenches. What does the day in the life of a security analyst actually look like?
It's a unforgiving day in the life. I mean, depending on what your job is in the SOC, it's either how many alerts can I get through in the dashboard or how many investigations can I complete, sure. But it seems like it's never ending. It's a snowball effect.
Sounds like constant stress.
Yes.
What's changing with this, and why do you think that is?
The industry's been begging for new and improved enhancements to it because it's been such a broken process to where there's been so many technologies that are deployed. None of them integrate with each other. So it's always, you're looking at a swivel chair response or investigative process, and it's never seamless. So what they're begging for is interoperability, automation, orchestration to enhance what they need to get done.
All right. Kevin, any of that sound familiar?
It does, and I think, like Jason said, one of the main problems is if you find something in one system, you take that information, go into another system, go down to the endpoint, bring it back, analyze it, none of it's really integrated. I mean, there's a lot of talks about integration, but true integration, I think, is what needs to really happen.
So there you are, hopping from island to island in the middle of something quite urgent, and obviously the situation doesn't really get resolved as quickly as anybody would like.
It takes time, or the actual, certain information isn't mapped correctly, or you need additional information. So, again, it's kind of a back and forth process.
Wow, okay. Devo and others have said that conventional SIEMs have really failed security analysts. How can that be?
Well, back in the day, I've been in the trenches a long time, even before the SIEMs were out, and they came out with the promise that they were going to be this single pane of glass and consolidate all your event data and really make your life easier. And all that's really done is create another problem, which is alert fatigue, and there's just way too much information to get through without any enrichment or context supporting it. So that's just made another problem. It didn't fix anything.
What does that mean for the next generation SIEM, and what should a modern SOC expect to look like?
So that is the critical piece around this, is having context to support an alert, not just having a bunch of alerts, right? To have the information I need to support, is this a critical alert? Is this a high importance alert? Does this need to be transitioned into an actual incident or investigation? Not just wasting my time trying to make that decision.
All right. Kevin, you mentioned integration as a headache here. Are there other items on your wish list for next generation SIEMs that would be really helpful to OpenText?
To what Jason said about the alerts, so if an analyst has X amount of time to be able to get to the problem, some of it would be like having all of that information that I would normally do, like security operations or SOAR. I would want that into a bucket that will reduce my time to get to it, because it's really a math problem. If I have to get to 1,000 alerts and I only have 8 hours in a day or even 10 hours in a day, I can't get to that because more alerts keep coming in.
Sure.
So if I had that information where I wouldn't have to go pull it and I could look at it very quickly and make that decision, is it something that needs further information? Is it a cleared alert? That would really help, I think, tremendously.
Are you talking some sort of filtering mechanism, some kind of automation capability?
Yeah, like if you see a particular alert, like a command and control or something like that, go out and take a snapshot of the endpoint, bring back the memory, put it into this folder. I want internet artifacts. I want different investigative data so I can have it all in one folder from that alert. Okay. I don't have to go grab it and waste my time, or should I say spend more time gathering that information. I'd rather have it right there for me.
Okay. So with regard to automation, this is a piece that's promised in next generation SIEMs. Is this where SIEM actually starts to turn into SOAR?
Well, there's a lot of synergies that are starting to converge within those two solutions. It depends on what you're looking for within that. Again, it's being able to automate the enrichment, which is a critical piece. But then when you look at the full SOAR solution, it's also helping automate the response piece of it. So if it's a mundane thing that I know about, and if I see it again, here's the actions I want to take. But you also have to have the outside of the box perspective of I don't know anything about this. This is something new on my plate. I want to just have all the supporting context readily available to me. So there's differences between orchestration automation and SOAR. So it depends on what journey you want to take there.
Okay, let's define our terms here. SOAR, for our viewers who aren't familiar with this acronym, SOAR stands for?
Security, orchestration, automation, and response.
Okay, and this is widely considered to be where SIEMs are heading.
A lot of SIEMs are, absolutely. A lot of SIEMs are trying to incorporate that functionality into their workflows, yes.
All right. There's another category that's growing within this ecosphere of threat intelligence. Why is it growing so fast, and how can the next generation of SIEMs operationalize it?
So yeah, that's another long journey that I've been upon for a very long time. It seems like endlessly. Back in the day, no one would share threat intelligence. It would, whatever they found, they would try and use it to help detect threats coming forward, but they wouldn't share it with the community at large. Okay. They would sweep it or just keep it internal. So fortunately, we've evolved in this space to where people are starting to share the indicators where they find in a breach or an investigation. But now it's become another fatigue issue because now there's so much of it, and there's a lot of technologies that really truly don't operationalize that data. So I have bits and pieces all over the place, and again, it's swivel chair. I got to copy this into one tool to see if I can search for it there, and then the next, and then the next. So it's still a very manual process. But next-gen SIEMs are starting to weaponize that or operationalize that data to where now I can enrich this information, not only use it for detections, but also automatic enrichment such as sightings or additional context to my event.
Kevin, from OpenText perspective, what does the prospect of better threat intelligence mean to the organization and to your security posture in general?
We just purchased a threat intel company, so I'm really anxious to get my hands involved in where threat intelligence goes, how it's operated, how it's integrated into not just our product but other products, and really kind of broadening that landscape as well into the threat intelligence. Because like Jason said, I really believe that that's where you get kind of your first initial, is this valid, is this not valid, how long has this domain been up? That kind of takes what a manual process would be and gives you an answer within seconds.
Okay, sort of a very sophisticated canary in a coal mine.
Yes, yes.
All right. Just curious from both of your perspectives, what you see as the biggest threats on the horizon for 2020, and how do you go about hunting for them?
I'll go first. I can just tell you, just even last week, there was 6 ransomwares that we helped with customers.
Wow.
I really see ransomware to be probably one of the top 10, top 3 problems. As I said, 6 people last week got compromised with it, and it's evolved, right? So I really see that to be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, the funny part about that, though, is the ransomware is evolving, but at the end of the day, from a threat intelligence perspective, they're only tweaking little things so they can get around the signature-based, heuristic-based detections, because they only have to tweak one little piece of that, whether it's a hash or whatever it might be, to circumvent detections.
Sure.
So the core foundation is still the same. It's just little deviations to the approach, but yeah, as Kev's saying, I mean, ransomware it's not going away anytime soon. No. And the delivery of it is still the traditional spear phishing campaigns that are getting it there.
Right, right. So can these next generation SIEMs that we're talking about, can they make a dent in the ransomware problem at all, or what's your anticipation there?
Yeah, I really believe, so a lot of these companies like, what can I do in the future to prevent this? It's have monitoring, right? Mm-hmm. So once it comes in, I can see that lateral movement. I can see that north-south traffic and east-west traffic. You have to be able to see that at the time that it comes in. Once it's in there, it's a little bit more challenging to capture.
And I would even expand a little bit more around like the next-gen SIEM with behavioral analytics and machine learning and modeling around that. Such as, if I am traditionally associating with these people on a regular basis, and then all of a sudden my associations spike, or the volumes of the communication between me and these associations really spike, if you can detect that early, those are early warning signs. And then you enrich that with additional context. Yes, instead of having to hunt down and rebuild my entire infrastructure, I might only have to do 1 or 2. So I don't think there's such thing as a silver bullet to prevent any of that.
Sure.
But if, like Kevin said, the faster detection, the faster means to identify, the less risk you're going to be exposed to.
Okay. We've got just a little bit of time left. I'm curious from your perspectives, what SIEM capabilities that you see companies building in-house versus those they look to managed service providers to offer?
I will take the first stab at that, and I've seen that, again, because of the legacy look at SIEMs, they claim to do this but fail to execute on that. So a lot of people were like, okay, well, there's a lot of open source tools out there now that I can kind of build my own. But in all honesty, they're starting to see the reality of that is my volumes of data are going so big that these homegrown things really can't scale to what I need them to be.
Sure.
So it's like, oh, I'm going to give this a try, and then they get this inflection point to where it's like, uh-oh, I need to go back out and look at these commercial guys because I ran out of runway.
Okay.
So, but it depends, right? Some guys want to try it on their own because they like to write code and they like to experiment. But the guys that have the critical infrastructure to protect and the critical IP to make sure it's safe, they're going right to the next-gen SIEMs.
All right.
And then I would just add on top of that is a lot of our customers don't understand that there's a huge expense to have that skill set inside, right? And I think a hybrid model would probably be, if it was me, would be the best model, because you have your experts. Like I train my folks, I send them to training, I budget for training. We're constantly evolving, we're constantly working with each other, we work with our Intel team. When you're an in-house, you have just you and that other person. That's the only two people that are really trying to combat all of these different threat factors, where an outside team focuses on it daily.
True.
Great insights, guys. Thank you so much for joining Dark Reading News Desk today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
I've been talking to Jason Mical with Devo Technology and Kevin Golas with OpenText. This has been Terry Sweeney for the Dark Reading News Desk.